what's up, everybody? This is Grey here, and welcome to the Sunday Shift Report. The crap has hit the fan. So today we're gonna go over some certain situations because, folks, mainstream media, the current political environment, and everything else is trying to fool the American people, as well as globally, other leaders are trying to fool their populations as well. And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to not to instill panic, but the problem is that people need to be informed so that they can be prepared. So I want to focus in on this whole situation in regards to a lot of issues that are creating a choke point to our economy and also to our supply chain, specifically food and other commodities alike. Because the reason I'm focusing on food is extremely important. Food is one of those things that you have to have. You need that sustenance. You need that nutrition to live happy and healthy, right? So this is why I focus in on food a lot. We have some other things that I want to go over too, but I want to focus on a few things, specifically our rail system, our shipping system, some issues with China, Russia, dairy farmers. I mean, there's a lot of things, folks. And then I have, like I said, also have some off stories as well that I just kind of want to throw into the Sunday Shift Report. Now, again, what I always like to tell everybody, this is my opinion. You know, these periodicals are my opinion. So I always want you, the viewers, to go a little bit further than outside of what I'm telling you here on the screen today, and do some further research on this stuff. You know, you can type in some of this information, and you can find it via other channels, on YouTube, via other channels on, certain periodicals that you can find, digital periodicals. There's a lot of things like, the Epoch Times, Zero Hedge, and the list goes on, folks. You can read these articles in their entirety and draw your own conclusion. My goal is not to scare anybody or to push fear. My goal is to inform and educate people on situations and issues that may not be, in your mainstream media or even in your local news, right? That's the huge thing. I want my viewers to be informed about things that are happening here locally in the United States as well as globally that could affect them and affect them in a bad way. Now, folks, I want to be really 100% honest. I hope that something gives, something goes in a better direction. And you guys have seen some things. Gas prices are trickling down, anywhere from 25 to 45 cents depending on where you get your gas, but it's still abnormally high. And as we saw just recently, we saw corn pop go overseas to Saudi Arabia, and basically, the Saudis pretty much thought it was a big joke. And I'll talk about that as well. I have one article in regards to the American oil companies and their perspective of what he did and how he's just basically doing it for trying to, garner political attention or political, I don't know. It's a political stunt to me in regards to what he did and a big FU to the American people and the taxpayers and whatnot. That's how I look at it. But again, this is from my opinion and my opinion only. So let's kind of jump into this. Basically, I want to focus on a few things. Like I said, let's just bring it up and get going. Let's go into this whole rail situation that's kind of being an issue, right? And if you're familiar with it, there's a huge situation with the railroad strike, and this is not limited to, because I want you guys to think about something, folks. Is how do we get our supplies here in the United States and globally, right? It's either by truck, freight trucks and whatnot, or however you want to call that. You get it by airplanes, you get it by rail, and you get it by ships. So when any of those components have an issue, that puts a strain on the supply chain in general. And from what I've been seeing on the news, I see bits and pieces, but nothing in its entirety being portrayed in our news. They're focusing on other things. Let's say, a lot of the news media was focusing on the trip over to Saudi Arabia and that stuff. A lot of people are focusing on other issues. Like I saw what several news agencies were covering was a heckler and AOC, talking about the way she looked and stuff like that. And that's what they consumed your time with. Versus something that might be more important that you should be focusing on outside of crap like that. No one cares about what AOC looks like or what someone thinks about her, at least from my perspective. And what Corn Pop is doing in the current administration that he is running, they're not doing much to help the American people. Anyways, let's move into this. Uh, this has to do with the rail system right now. This is in Omaha, Nebraska. The deadline for Corn Pop to intervene and keep 115,000 railroad workers from going on strike and disrupting deliveries of cars, crops, containers of imported goods, and countless other products and raw materials is looming. Supposedly they're trying to create some sort of committee, right, to resolve this federally, and they're supposed to be putting some emergency powers actors, some crap, together to try to resolve this issue. We'll find out on Monday for sure. I know they did something Friday, but I don't know how much of an effect this is going to make, but we'll see, right? Anyways, it says Corn Pop is widely expected to name a board of arbitrators to review the contract dispute and make recommendations on how to settle it before Monday's deadline. Once he does that, any strike or lockout will be delayed 60 days. So they're just pushing the issue further into the year versus just trying to resolve the issue. Anyways, that'll be under federal law that governs the railroad contract talks. A White House official said that Corn Pop's administration is going through the standard process to decide whether to appoint this special board to intervene in the contract talks. Businesses that rely on railroads have urged Corn Pop to appoint the Presidential Emergency Board to try to bring the freight railroads and workers together to reach a deal. Groups including the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and major trade groups of railroad shippers all wrote to Corn Pop over the past month since the talks have deadlocked and mediation officially ended to stay a rail strike could cause catastrophic disruptions in the economy. Any strike is bad, said Rob Benedict with the American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers Group that represents refineries and other chemical companies. We want to avoid that at all costs, especially when we are in a precarious situation like our nation is now in a kind of our current supply chain crisis. So it's not only the food system that's concerned, right? The food supply, right? It's also the petro folks, because how do we get oil from one place to another outside of a pipeline? How do you get it to other places? Let's say if you're in the Gulf Coast and they get oil from the rigs and whatnot, and they bring them ashore via ship, and then they put it on trucks, and those trucks, of course, deliver it to refineries and then to gas stations, and then the list goes on. There's a whole process in regards to the chain of events that happens to oil. So this can affect everything in regards to the whole rail strike. I'm very curious to see how this plays out, but I figured I would like to make you guys aware of that situation. And I have a second part to that right here. I'll throw it up on the screen for you. It says the most recent U.S. rail strike in 1992. This is so we can understand history here, folks. It cost the U.S. economy $50 million per day. $50 million per day in 1992. Okay? Think about how long ago that was. I know it doesn't seem that long ago, but it's a long ago. Which could presumably be higher in the event of a strike today. According to logistics company Woodland Group, unions say that the impasse has left trains dangerously understaffed and employees overworked. Whilst the National Railway Labor Conference has offered a counter, including retroactive reparations and significant pay increases, the situation is still unresolved. So think about that, folks. In 1992, $50 million a day. That's how much it cost the American taxpayers and how it affected the economy back then. Of course, it'll be a lot worse at this point because we've been strained. Basically, since early 2020, everything has gone to SHTF in regards to our supply chain and how things are moving via ship, truck, plane, and so on and so forth, right? It's a scary thought that, like I said, it's like we're on like this thin line or at the edge of a cliff, and just one small catastrophic a little event could send us over the edge and collapse the entire system because it's already being strained beyond what it's capable of. It's that simple. And a lot of people still don't get it through their thick heads that we are on this situation that could create this mass economic strife in the United States specifically. It's almost like we're not third world, second world country. When you go to the store and you see all these different shelves empty of certain products, you see limitations on how many things that you can get. That should be a wake-up call for some of those people walking to the store. And it's ironically enough, every time I go to the store, be it whatever store I go to, there's always someone walking around looking like, hey, what's going on? Where's the stuff at? And I really want to say, hey, come here for a second. I'm going to show you something and explain something to you. But I'm a figure that's going to fall on deaf ears because no one probably wants to hear me ramble on about how bad our situation is, because they're going to say, no, wait, this is America, it can't happen here. That's the biggest thing that I get from other folks. No way, bro, it can't happen here. And I think these people are just living in a bizarre world or la la land, to think that, I always tell them, you can look at history. It has happened here. Matter of fact, people are starving every single day. Just because that person or that individual might not be starving because they have access to the food, there's other folks in this country that are starving every day, from vets to children. It's that simple. And it's just being exacerbated by the current situation and crisis that we're dealing with right now. And we have yet to see the full extent of what's going to transpire as we move into the fall. All right. So, speaking of which, let's jump over to where was it at? I'm trying to think of where I want to go with this. Let's go to the California port right now. Remember California? We saw all those ships. There was nobody to unload the ships. There was just massive congestion and all this situation, right? Well, funny enough, folks, they got some of that congestion resolved, right? Kudos to them. That's why we've been seeing these discounts. That's why I kind of wanted to do that video, that live stream, that Prime Day deal for preppers live stream, because I wanted you folks, if you guys have some money put away, to buy things while they're on sale and while they're available, especially at a discounted rate, right? So let's look at this whole situation in California. And this is on top of the whole rail system. This is all congruent, this is all rolling into the same situation, okay? So we talked about the rail system, right? Now we're going to talk about the port system and what's going on there, specifically targeting California. It says, meanwhile, the pileup of containers bound for rail, because it all, like I said, you got to understand, everything is like a puzzle and it all fits together to run smoothly, just like a machine or a clock that has cogs in it, or at least the old school clocks did, and have all these gears that make everything run smoothly. When you take a piece of that part out of the machine, you have a breakdown, and that's what we're having right now. Anyways, I'll continue with what I was saying. Meanwhile, the pileup of containers bound for rail waiting at the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach continue to pile up. The Port of Los Angeles informed CNBC that there is a total of almost 20,000 rail containers that have been waiting 9 days or longer, while the Port of Long Beach reported a total of almost 14,000 rail containers waiting the same time frame. Over 60% of all containers waiting at these ports are destined for rail. The approximate total value of trade inside those containers is estimated by the MDS Trans model at over $1.5 billion of goods, folks. $1.5 billion of goods, folks. That's insane. And that's everything. You name it, from food to electronics to whatever it may be, is sitting there waiting for the rail system. Rail containers continue to pile up in the ports in record numbers, said Noel, and I can't say his last name, can't pronounce it, so I don't want to butcher it, but Deputy Executive Director of Administration and Operations of the Port of Long Beach. We need those boxes to move to create more capacity and keep the economy moving. So this is basically stifling the economy because those goods are sitting there and it costs these folks money. Every day that these products sit there and don't get to where they're destined to go, they accumulate a cost. And of course, that cost will be not on them. These companies will flip the bill, right? They're going to flip the storage fees and taxes and all that stuff like that. But then they will eventually put it on you, the consumer, folks. So you think prices now are high? You think when you go to buy that chicken, or you go to buy that beef, or you go to buy some products for your house, or whatever it may be. Let's say you go to buy buy whatever it may be that you want to add to your preps, and you've noticed the cost is going up. Well, this situation is just going to further increase that cost on you, the consumer, because God forbid the companies absorb that cost, because it's not our fault. It's not we, the American people's fault that this is happening. It's the way our government and governments alike are running their countries basically into the ground. And like I said, a lot of people, and they'll say that we're crazy. They say that we wear tinfoil hats. We're on the fringe side of things, but when we look at it as a planned situation, a lot of people say, this all seems planned. It's too coincidental. And they'll be like, well, no one expected, the health crisis to evolve into what it is. No one expected so-and-so to this to happen. Are you sure about that? Have you read some of this intriguing books in regards to and I like to repeat it because I want to kind of send it home with you folks. But Confessions of an Economic Hitman. There's a fictional book that I read. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of. I think JM at the Nut House recommended this book to me. I think it's called Black Autumn, and a lot of other authors, including Angry American, who was a guest on my show, said has it in high regards because it's plausible, very plausible, and it talks about a situation in Los Angeles that evolves into a situation that affects our supply chain and the demise of economic collapse here in the United States, and so on and so forth. And when you look at it and you read that book, it's fiction, but it could happen because of how our system is run, as they call it, especially with technology this day and age. Everything runs off technology, and without that technology, everything comes to a standstill. Anyway, so that's the whole situation with that. Where was I with the whole California situation? I'm just looking to see if I have. I want to go back to, was it October of 2021? Okay, I want to bring up this article here. It was titled "Stunning Crisis." It says, from a short-term perspective, the decline of the U.S. ability to cope with crisis and the change of global perceptions of the U.S. started with the Charlie Victor health crisis. The fact that the U.S., despite having the world's best medical resources, has allowed the largest numbers of deaths and infections to take place in its very in place is the very manifestation, of the U.S. inability to face a public health crisis. Because they failed its people. Now, was it purposeful, or were they unprepared? You would assume that being the what is it called, the king of the hill, America, king of the hill, United States, king of the hill, that we'd be prepared for anything. But this is, if you've watched over the last couple of years, you realize not so much, or maybe we are, but I'm trying to be careful in what I say, but hopefully you get my point. Anyways, some scholars even debate whether the U.S. response to the Charlie Victor, the health crisis, has gotten the country into the rank of failed states. Now, this is over a year ago, almost a year ago, this article was written. And what if there's an energy crisis? This is funny, a year ago, they're talking about an energy crisis. What are we in right now, folks? What is the whole entire planet dealing with right now? An energy crisis. If you look at Germany, look at the UK, look at here in the US, I get emails, I get comments, I get things in the Discord all the time. Hey, we've been without power for a couple of days. Hey, we've been having these weird brownouts. It's happening. It's happening. The energy crisis is here and is only going to get worse. Anyways, in February of this year, which we're talking about of 2021, the U.S. state of Texas suffered a major electricity shortage as a result of 3 severe winter storms. We all remember that situation, right? And a lot of you Texans know for a fact the situation firsthand, which led to an outage of water, food, and heat. Man, and some of the stories are heartbreaking in that whole situation where people died. State officials said that the failure caused 151 deaths, while experts found the true number could be more around 700 because they always want to cover it up. They always want to make it like it had less of an impact. Oh, it was only 151. Well, one death is too much. And they reported about 151, but numbers are saying that roughly about 700. You can see how they like to skew numbers, and we all know how they skew numbers in every aspect of our lives. The state's lack of preparedness of such natural disasters drew much attention. That was last year. The reason I wanted to bring that up is due to the spot where they talked about the energy crisis. So, we're talking about recessions and all kinds of stuff like that. Before I go overseas, I want to talk about Corn Pop wasting the American taxpayers' money by going to Saudi Arabia for a political stunt. And they call it the fist bump heard around the world. You've probably seen that all over the news. So I'm not going to go over that, but I want to bring this up. And this is from the American oil producers. This was their message. It says, after Corn Pop met with his Saudi leaders abroad. American oil producers said that the federal government should stop targeting the industry. You notice that they've been going full force, saying it's the oil producers' fault, or it's Putin's fault, or it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault. Not willing to take the responsibility to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's my fault for canceling the pipeline, for not issuing federal grants and federal land leases to our own oil producers here in our own country," right? Anyways, instead, in spite of attempts to limit supply, we are doing everything we can to increase our production. Tall City Exploration President CEO Mike Osterman told Fox Business, "We're spending all the money that we make, and we're putting it right back in the ground with an addition of bank borrowing that we're doing." So they're borrowing money from the bank. They're taking all their profits and trying to put it back in the ground to produce as much oil as they possibly can and to get things rolling, trying to help the American people because it's hurting folks. Paying the money that you're paying at the pump right now, I'm pretty sure every one of you have felt it in your pocketbooks, at least the majority of you. And I don't know how many billionaires and millionaires watch my channel, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you folks are dealing with it. It says, although gas prices have dropped more than 45% per gallon since a month ago, as of Sunday, AAA data showed the average price currently stands about $4.53 a gallon, which to me is still way too high compared to the previous administration and where we were at with gas prices then. And I know there's going to be a naysayer. Well, we were all in lockdown, no one was traveling, the price of crude went all the way down, and this is what brought prices. It doesn't matter. I don't care. The thing is now the gas prices that are as high as they are now could be resolved by a little pen. One of these things here, you could just literally take that and do an executive order and fix that situation instead of making these frivolous executive orders that do absolutely nothing for the American people. Anyways, let me continue. Diesel, which is used by many trucks and most trains, dropped about 25 cents over the past month, but prices remain elevated at $5.54 per gallon. The president went to Saudi Arabia last week to meet with top kingdom officials, including the crown prince, who he said that he was going to make Saudi Arabia a pariah state, and he blamed the crown prince for the murder of the journalist and whatnot like that, and said all this crap. But then he goes over there and fist bumps them and basically, begging them for oil. It's just... Anyways, in a bid to expand oil production in the Middle Eastern country, but some oil producers of the United States said that Biden, said his name, oh well, ding, 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 there you go, tube, knock it out of the park. Anyway, should instead tap into U.S. resources. And funny enough, the Saudis, if you guys have caught the news, the Saudis said, no, we're at our top capacity. We can't produce any more oil. Now, folks, I wish I had the article in front of me. Do you know the Saudis, a major oil producing company, the Saudi Arabia, right, have bought, I want to say billions or millions of barrels of oil from Russia. I think it's up to the 500 to 650 million or billion. Don't quote me on that. It's somewhere right around there. From Russia. Because they're getting it at a discounted rate. Isn't it ironic? Do you think the Saudis said, hey, we got an idea. We'll buy a bunch of oil from Russia at a discounted rate and then sell it to the Americans for a higher rate. Just think about that for a minute, folks. Just think about that. Because why would the Saudis, an oil-producing country, need to buy oil from Russia? Buy it low, sell it high to the people that really want it. And this administration guarantee you will buy it. Maybe they know, maybe they don't know that it's actual Russian oil being fed over here to the United States because of all these things, all these restrictions. Russia this, we're not going to, all these sanctions on Russia. And then through the little ways around things, Americans will be fed Russian oil. Possibly. Don't quote me on that. It's just the way my mind works. Anyways, it says, I think the president could have saved a lot of time and taxpayer dollars and come out to here to Midland, Texas, right around the corner. You can take your little thing from Washington, D.C. or wherever you're hiding at and go down to Texas, another great state, to talk to us instead of going to Saudi Arabia. Latshaw Drilling President Trent Latshaw told Fox Business, Mr. President, if you want to talk about increasing oil production, come out here and talk to us because we're just the industry that can help you out, Latshaw told the news outlet. So the oil producers here down in Texas and other places have said, why don't you work with us, American oil producers? And here's the whole funny thing with this whole Green New Deal crap, right? And this whole green energy and all this other BS that they're trying to shove down everybody's throat, right? Matter of fact, I just saw an article the other day about how, I think is it in California, they're dealing with the crisis of how to dispose of solar panels, and how that's becoming a major issue. But you won't see that on their news, will you? Anyways, instead of going to begging to another country for oil, why don't you make us, the the United States, oil independent from other countries? We have enough oil in our own lands. Why don't you, out of Alaska, out of the Gulf, out of Texas, and several other places, Louisiana, and other oil producing places that you can get it, instead of going to places outside of the U.S. And paying a premium, and then of course putting that tax on us, the American people. Anyways, that's my spiel on that. And this is why I mean, don't be fooled, people. Don't be fooled. And I'm not saying any of you folks are. A lot of you folks who watch my channel are in the know because you pay attention. You guys are more aware. You got the blinders off and you're focusing in what's happening and you're preparing for it as best as you can as preppers, right? Where did I want to go from there? And one thing I forgot to mention in regards, and I see it here that I forgot to mention it, is in regards to shipments. Let me see. Basically, when I was talking about the whole shipments coming from other countries into the U.S., because a lot of people, I know you folks know, someone made a comment the other day on one of my videos and said, a matter of fact, it was a Prime user that says, I hope you're buying American goods. And I try to be somewhat polite, as I always try to do with people who make certain comments, because maybe they don't get it. Maybe they don't understand my perspective, or maybe they don't understand where 99% of our goods come from, or not 99, but a majority of our goods come from, is China. You go to Walmart, you go to most retail outlets, they're imported. There's not much stuff that comes from the United States, folks. There's not much stuff that's manufactured here. Previous presidents and other situations that arose sent everything overseas. So I would love to go and buy something from an American producing company that builds it right here. You know what I mean? Like some of the knives I buy are American made, but there's things that you cannot buy that are made overseas. So you have no choice but to feed the monster and buy imported products, be it China or Taiwan or South Korea or wherever the heck it comes from. Trust me, I wish we were independent from every other country and all we did was buy American goods and help the American people and American business folks and small businesses. That would be awesome. But it's not plausible at this point. We're dependent on everyone else. We're a major importer of goods, from medicines to electronics to every facet of our lives. Anyways, the graph, sorry to go on a tangent. There's just so much in my head, folks, that's just been happening. And when I read stuff like that, I'm just like, man, can't you see that it's simple? I'm sitting here looking at a battery. It's made overseas. And you need them. It's not like you can't do something without them. It's not like you can just boycott. I'm going to boycott China, not buy anything that's made in China. Maybe if you lived off grid in a hut that you built yourself, I hope you don't want solar panels or solar devices, because most of them are made from China or made in China. So, I live off grid and I don't buy anything from China. Yes, you do. Those controllers, those things that run your solar generators and anything else that you got in there, a lot of things are all made in China. Well, I bought it in California. Yeah. You don't think China has major manufacturing plants that ship to distributors here? It upsets me that folks, that people just don't sometimes grasp the whole situation and dig deeper. There's things that are made, it's funny, they're made in China, but then assembled in the United States, and they put made in the USA and slap that label on it, trying to, fake out or fool the American people. Anyways, this is a graph right here, folks. It says canceled sailings from Asia to the US. So the ports are clogged. The rail system is screwed. Currently, the shipping system is out of whack. Gas prices and fuel prices or fuel costs are at an all-time high. The truckers situation is the labor issues there and the lack of truckers to hire and whatnot. The list goes on. And if you look at the stuff coming from China, and other places, the Asian continent, have dramatically decreased. So this is what I'm trying to explain. With all these factors, folks, with all these factors, you're going to see this situation evolve into something, into a major crisis. Into a major crisis. Just trying to spread information out there, folks. That's all I'm really trying to do. To inform my viewers so that as things progress into this downturn that we're headed, you're prepared, or at least as best as you can be. That's all you can do, folks. If you're new to the channel and you're trying to understand what prepping is all about, we prep for situations from everything from a loss of a job to a storm that blows through your area to floods, all the way to the big stuff, earthquakes, natural disasters, and of course, world ending situations like economic collapse, nuclear bombardment, and so on and so forth. Speaking of recession, you keep on hearing certain people say it's not going to happen. But you got to pay attention to other little things here and there that will kind of give you this information. So let me bring up this article that kind of leads into why some economists are raising the alarm that, yes, we are headed for a recession. And it might be extremely worse than previous recessions because of everything that's happened in the economy over the last couple of years. Anyways, this has to deal with copper. It says copper prices continue to drop on a weekly basis, suggesting that a recession could be looming. The metal is a major component in motors and electronics, and some economists have used it as a barometer to determine whether the economy is strong or not. But the London Metal Exchange, copper dropped about a little bit below $7,000 a ton. It's down 27.4% year to date. The drop on Friday was the first time the contract fell below $7,000 per ton since November 2020. And we know why. 2020, everybody's on lockdown. On a weekly basis, it dropped from more than 10%. The price recovered slightly by 1% to 71.65 later on Friday. Under NASDAQ's measure, copper prices have fallen from about $4.02 per pound on June 17th and is now trading at about $3.23 per pound as of July 15th. Why am I talking about this? This is the reason why. Economists have said that copper has hit a bear market before each of the past 4 recessions. That's why when you watch other components to the system, specifically copper, this metal, every time copper has hit the bear market, has signaled that we are in a recession or headed to a recession. But I wanted to throw that in there because these are little things that some folks don't pay attention to. I forgot to show you guys the port map too. If you go to marine traffic and go to the live view, you'll notice that the California ports have little to no ships there compared to the way we've seen it in the past. I guess I could just throw it up really quick so you guys can see it. But there it is. I forgot to show that, and you can see there's little to no traffic because nothing's coming in. Very little. I was not saying nothing, but very little to nothing is coming in. I know Rudy over at Alaska Prepper talked about this earlier today, so I'm not going to go over it too much and spend too much time on it. But I'm pretty sure this is the article that he used. It says satellite imagery shows global crop declines except for Russia and China. Go check out Alaska Prepper if you haven't watched his video on this. But I just kind of wanted to throw up there because the more of us talking about this, the better. The more voices on there, the more eyes and ears are on this situation. But it's quite intriguing that everyone except for Russia and China have major crop decline, specifically wheat. And I can show you that here in the chart. I don't know if I didn't get a chance to watch Rudy's video. I just saw the headline this morning when I woke up. Or it wasn't this morning. It was after I had coffee the first time. But basically, if you look at this, this is the graph here that you can see. It says projected rise and fall of the wheat harvest in selected countries. This is a forecast for 2022 compared to the 5-year average. Anyways, as you can see, Russia and China are doing pretty good. And Canada is irking out a small 0.81. But Germany, France, the United States, India, and Ukraine, of course, with that whole situation. When you look at this, who controls the wheat, folks? Who controls the wheat? And people say, well, I love it when someone says, well, I don't care about wheat. Well, wheat is used in a lot of other products, folks. I've discussed this many times. I've broken down certain things, what corn is used for. I've broken down certain other specific ingredients like wheat and how it's used in other things, from food to animal products, and the list goes on to hair products and makeup, and the list goes on, folks. Just like petroleum-based products, moisturizers and stuff like that, Vicks Vapor Rub, all that stuff is petroleum based. So when the cost of petroleum goes up, or petrol in general, oil and all the other stuff, depending on the way it's refined and whatnot, that cost will incur on us, the American people. But wanted to show that. I think Rudy did a really great video on that, so go check out Alaska Prepper. I'm pretty sure someone will drop his link in the description if you haven't seen that video yet, or if you don't know who AP is. Very great channel. Anyways, I just wanted to throw it out there. I just wanted to touch on it real quick because I said the more eyes on it, the better, in case folks haven't watched that video yet that he put out or whatnot. Also, in Germany, let's throw this up. Let's hop overseas for a second here. The German port labor battle. Germany's in a bad situation. They have so much, natural gas over there, or whatever you want to call it. They have enough. They don't have enough in their reserves for heat for the entire winter, because Russia said, okay, if you don't pay in rubles, you don't get none. Or Russia just said, we'll shut you off. And of course, Germany's part of NATO, so it's going to fall in line with whatever the West says, and not caring about what it does to its own civilians, the people that live there in Germany. Anyways, wage negotiations between German labor union and port employees reached another impasse, resulting in a 48-hour strike from Thursday morning until Saturday morning. I'm not sure if this has been resolved yet. If anybody in chat knows, you can go ahead and drop that. I appreciate that. This is why we have a community, so we can share information. It says a court-ordered peace obligation, according to sources, may mean no more strikes with the exception of the current strike until August 24th, which is funny. The government is telling you, you can't strike. And if you strike, there'll be penalties. Just imagine if that was to happen here in the United States. If they told people, you're not allowed to strike. You're going to do what you're told and like it. It says, although the court ruling only formally applies to the port of Hamburg, sources say there is assumption there will also be no strikes at other locations during this time. According to the CNBC supply chain heat map for Europe, the fluidity of trade is gone. Why do I talk about Germany? Because I like to talk about other countries to see what's happening there, because it's a global situation, folks. And all of our economies are tied to one another. All of our economies are tied to one another, folks. No matter how you look at the situation, everyone's economies are tied to each other. Now, what I've been noticing Russia and China doing is they're doing what we should be doing and trying to become independent from the system. They're trying to separate themselves from being part of this whole situation where they have enough food, they have enough oil, they have enough gas to supply themselves or their allies. It's almost like Russia and China, specifically China, are trying to build this conglomerate that's opposite of what NATO has, right? And I know NATO, and when I'm talking about the economy and militarily, it's different, but you kind of get where I'm going with that. Even India is starting to work with the Russians and China. Of course, Afghanistan and some of the Middle Eastern countries are working with China and Russia. So you're seeing a shift in this geopolitical environment that we see as America and the West being the controllers of the world, and you're starting to see a shift to some of these regimes. And remember, they are communist regimes, dictators, communism, and talk to folks that live in places like that, specifically China, Russia. Matter of fact, I've had folks from all those different parts of the area. I wish I could find a Chinese citizen that could go on live with me and explain what life is like in China, outside of what we see through this window of media. That's where we get our information from. But all we can look at numbers and graphs and what we're told. Unfortunately, that's the gist of it. So there's a lot of things that we probably are not told, and things, like I said, that's why I feel things are a lot worse. If you see a number like 9.1% inflation, to me that means we're probably more closer in the double digits and 15, 20, 25%, somewhere along those lines, especially if you look at the food and energy side of things. That's how I feel. That's my personal opinion. Anyways, speaking of other countries, let's talk about the Dutch real quick. And this is what's happening to them. And we talked about the Dutch, and you guys have seen the matter of fact. If you go to, if any of you guys are on Twitter and you follow Angry American, and you follow his tweet, he'll be showing you all these massive protests in some of these countries, from Italy to I think Sweden and several other places. You're seeing things happen and evolve with the farmers and the people that live in these countries. Anyways, the Dutch dairy farmer faces having to cull 95% of his cows. We've seen culling here with the avian flu situation, which of course increased eggs and stuff like that, the price of chicken and eggs and poultry and whatnot. But this this farmer over says, I can't run a farm on 5%. And you'll see why I highlighted this down below. But it says, in the Netherlands, dairy farmer Martin, and I can't pronounce his name, but we'll just call him Martin, is near the end of the line. A new environmental regulations, and again, keyword environmental regulations, will require him to slash his livestock numbers by 95% because, you know, cow farts, right? Cow farts. I know it's funny to say, but literally cow farts, and that's where they're saying that that's the issue. And have you seen some of these things that they developed? I think that, I forget what they're trying to put on cows. It's almost like a diaper. I don't even know, man. It just gets ridiculous. Anyways, back to the article. It says, I can't run a farm on 5%. For me, it's over and done with, he said in a July 7th interview with the Epoch Times. In view of the regulations, I can't sell it to anybody. Nobody wants to buy it. But the government wants to buy it. And that's why they have those regulations, I think. So the government is putting so much stipulations on this farmer that they're going to run his family farm into the ground and put him out of business because they're the only ones who are going to have the capability to buy it. And they're the only ones wanting to buy it at whatever regulations and stipulations and price points that they want to set forth due to environmental regulations. And folks, you can see this happening here in the U.S. You can see what's happening in places like California and so on and so forth. I got two more things for you, and then we'll wrap it up. My apologies, going a little bit longer than I expected, and hopefully I can get this done and up by 6 p.m. If not, we'll be at 6:30. My apologies. Sometimes the editing process and YouTube and all that stuff takes a lot longer than expected, usually on the Sunday shift report, because it's controversial. Anyways, I wanted to bring this up because this has to do with our military, and me and Michelle were talking about this just recently on the live stream, on Thursday's live stream, and some of you folks have not emailed me in regards to the giveaway. There's a few, I think 2 or 3 left. Everybody else has gotten emails and where they want their prizes sent, but if you haven't and you're watching this, send me an email if you're one of those folks. I don't have the list of names in front of me. Anyways, it says about 40,000 National Guard and 22,000 Reserve soldiers will be blocked from service for rejecting the Victor. U.S. Army officials said on July 8th. Soldiers who refuse the Victor order without approved or pending exemption request are subject to adverse administrative actions, including flags, bars to service, and official reprimands, an Army spokesman told military.com. The deadline for the Defense Department's Victor mandate passed at midnight on June 30th, and the order cuts off pay and some of the military benefits to 62,000 service members. This is just one component to this. Remember, there's also the Army, their Air Force, the Marines, National Guard, what else? The Army Reservists, like we're talking about here, the Coast Guard, and the list goes on, folks. These are the people that protect our borders, our waters, and they're dropping in dramatic numbers. It's just something, it's like almost like to the point where they're weakening our military strength. Now, some people say, well, we have the state-of-the-art weaponry. We now are working on our own hypersonic missiles. We have the best tanks and the best this. But what about if you don't have the trained folks to run that equipment? That's my question. What about if you don't have enough? Or you don't have, something pops off tomorrow and these people aren't available because they didn't get what you told them to get, and now you don't have someone to run that system who's trained on running that system, and you're going to try to throw someone else in there that may not be as effective as that person that's been doing it for 10 years or so on and so forth. That's how I look at it. I look at an article, and then I try to look beyond that article and how that can relate to more serious consequences down the road. Um, Let me see here. And I know, folks, uh, there's another situation brewing that you guys can see it. And I'm going to run this along the side uh, while I'm talking here. And these major fires and droughts that are happening over in the European Union and those areas and places like that. Matter of fact, I'll throw this up on the other side while this is running on one of the sides. I'll have them running one way or another. But you can see in the Discord. That's why I say if you have the capabilities of joining the Discord, it's a good thing because this information is like a lot faster than I can produce a video, and it's readily accessible to you. The entire articles, videos, pictures, and stuff like that. Um, and like I said, there's the whole fires that are breaking out everywhere. What did I see? Portugal. We got France. Where else? Spain, Croatia. Massive, huge blazes, folks. Huge blazes that's transpiring over there in that area. And simply put, that's going to affect other things too. People's livelihoods, people's their homes, their land, their crops, and so on and so forth. So, folks, that wraps it up. Thank you for taking your time and spending some of your Sunday afternoon with me and the great community. I truly appreciate every single one of you amazing people. I truly do. You mean the world to me in the aspect of always, showing your support for the channel and myself as well as each other. That's a huge thing. Is being kind to one another, sharing information, and being in the know. Other than that, folks, remember that you are not alone. All right, you are not alone. I want people to know that you're not alone. We're here for you in regards to information and whatever we can do. Speaking of which, on Tuesday, there's I think the color drop sent me some information in my email, and I'll share that on Tuesday. A person that's having a situation, I had to dig more into it and make sure I have the links and stuff like that. Other than that, this is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll see you guys in a rebound. God bless, and please stay safe out there.